Okay, again, good morning, everybody. Please make sure you post something to the discussion board on week 4. Any questions, any issues, or at least say you're here. Okay, so today's lecture is a continuation from the previous one. So last time we talked about the properties of exponents. And today we're going to talk a little more about them. So last time we learned these rules, all of these. And we're going to practice more on these with some more complex expressions, and we'll see how to simplify them using these rules. So the reason why we learn these is because sometimes we have some more complex expressions that need to be simplified expressions. Okay, as an example, we may have more than one variable. For example, this times something, not just one variable, one base. We could have multiple here, and we could have some powers with some 2 to the power 3, 4, and maybe something like this. And we want to multiply these. It might be like this, or it may be expressed as in parentheses like this. This is just this times this. It's not a distribution.
Teacher, is x2?
That's right. This is x2. It's just one multiplication straight. We don't have a plus or a minus to distribute. And we apply the same rule basically here. So what you do is you're gonna multiply the like bases. Those will go together. We have x2, x4. Then another multiplication, y3 and y. What's the power of this y, by the way?
1.
That's right. Whenever you see a variable without a power, there's an invisible 1. And from there, basically we apply this rule. So what do we do with the powers here?
You add them.
That's right. So 2 and 4, that's 6. And we have y, 3 and 1, that's 4. Okay, that's how simple it is to multiply different variables. So you may have more than just 2, but it works the same way, exact same way. Just add up the powers. So when you times the expressions, the powers add up. It is also possible to have some numbers here, just regular coefficients in front of the variables. And you may have a mix of powers here, negatives and positives. For instance, you may have, let's say, negative 3xy times maybe 4 and xy. Negative 2 and possibly 4 and 3. So again, multiplication could be expressed like these with parentheses, nothing in between, or with a little dot in the middle. We avoid the multiplication sign to avoid confusion with the letter x, okay? Either a dot or this, we use that for multiplication. So what multiplies first?
The 3 and the 4.
Okay, that's right. So we have negative 3, negative 4. Those are just numbers, they're not powers. So we need to multiply them. So negative 3 times negative 4.
Minus 12.
Times 4. That's right. Then, same way, we're going to multiply the x's together. So x5.
That's a minus 4?
No,
No, this is a 4. So negative.
plus 4.
Yeah. Negative 3 and a 4. And negative 2. And y4 next to y3.
So do you put a dot in between the x's and the y's, or I'm confused how you wrote that?
You might put that or not. It still means multiplication. Okay, so multiplication is either nothing in between the letters or a dot, or you can put the...
But what about the in between the 4 and the x?
That's not a problem. If you put that, that's also okay. Okay, I just don't want to put too many dots. Or
Oh, okay.
you can just write without any dots. That's still a problem. It's just a separation here, basically, but nothing different. Okay, so now we're going to multiply the numbers. So again, these are just regular numbers, so negative 12. These are powers, so then we combine these. What is this equal to?
3.
That's right, 3. So you combine 5 and negative 2. Finally, the y.
7.
7.
7. And that's it. As you can see, we don't have anything else to combine, and that's our final answer.
When do we do this? Do you want to
Okay,
see?
question.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Do we have to like write every step in between, like, or do like
Oh,
if I just
Well,
simplified it, is it okay?
that's okay if you do it right away. I'm trying to be as detailed as possible. Usually you could skip
Okay, I
this
just wanted
step.
to make sure.
Yeah, so you could just
Yeah,
do
me too.
negative 3 times 4 directly, right? 12, and then x5, x this. But for now, we're still beginners, so we may want to go through each step first. Okay, so that's the case if you have a multiplication. Let's see now what happens if you have a fraction like this, but not with just one variable, maybe with more. So let's say some x and y over some x and y. Probably some powers here. And let's say so obviously here you're using rule number 2. What happens to the powers again when you have a fraction?
You subtract them.
Subtract them. So we have x3 over x. What is the power of the x again?
1.
X2.
1.
That's right. So we're going to do 3 minus 1. Same thing here, y. It has to be in this order, okay? 5 to the top power minus the bottom, not the other way. 5 minus 8. So this becomes x2. And of course, y negative 3. We need to do one more thing here.
You pass the y to the bottom.
That's right. All the powers, your answer should only have positive powers. We saw the other day that when a power is negative, simply move it to the other side and it turns positive. This one doesn't move, it's already positive, stays here. And this one moves down, and it becomes a positive 3 here. And that's it, that's your final answer with positive powers only. There's nothing else you can do here. None of these rules will help.
So if we don't have the negative,
the bases are different. So none of these now will help because the bases are different. Yes, go ahead.
yeah. So if we don't have the negative power, we just leave the answer the last second one, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay.
All the answers should be positive.
Okay.
Okay, and again, you may have more than just 2 variables, but it works the exact same way. So this is the basic formula that we apply when you have fractions.
There was a really good example in the homework that was very advanced, if you want to call it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We still have a bunch of problems. Well, we have different problems coming, including this one here. So you may have
one with the number being negative and then having an exponent make it negative.
Right.
I had a question of like, if the number travels down with the negative sign.
Okay, we'll get to that. We still have a bunch of problems. I'm pretty sure we're going to cover that. And at the end, if you don't cover it, let me know. We'll go over it. Okay, let's just first cover these. You may also have numbers like this and some powers. Let's say, again, you may have something like this and maybe 1 here. You may have, let's say, 5 and minus 1. Okay, so it's a fraction. Still the same basic idea here. We just have more variables and numbers. So what do you think happens first here?
You simplify 15 and 45.
That's right, we need to reduce the fraction. So these are just numbers, they're not powers. We're not subtracting them, so we're going to reduce them by 5. 5 goes into 15 how many times?
3.
That's right. And 5 into 45.
5.
I mean,
Nine.
nope, not
Oh,
5.
sorry. 9.
9.
Sorry.
That's right, 9. So our fractions now will be reduced to 3 over 9, which we can reduce even more actually.
Reduce to
Yeah.
1/3.
Yeah, we can reduce by
1/3.
by 15 because 15 is the highest one.
Mhm.
So we don't have to reduce again. 15 goes into 15 once. 15 into 45
Mhm.
3 times.
3 times. So that's much better. So you don't have to reduce again. So 1/3. Now, what do we do with x2 over x1?
It stays X.
It will be 2 minus 1, which will be x. That's right. Now we have this situation here. What happens now?
Y5,
Mm-hmm.
and then you change the y minus 1 to make it positive to the top.
That's right. So we have this negative power. We're gonna move it up. Always to make a power positive, we just move it to the other side. So we're gonna move this one up. That way it becomes positive. Or if you want, you can do 5 minus 1. That can be confusing. I prefer that you move the powers, the negative powers to the other side first to make them positive. So this will be y5. This y negative 1 moves up, becomes y positive 1. Then you go ahead and simplify. So we have 1/3. 1 times something. You don't need this one here. You can just write 3. X to the power 1. Or simply x.
XY6.
And will be y6. As you can see, all the powers are positive. There's nothing else to simplify. Again, we can't use any more of these rules. So we already used a couple of them here. And that's basically your final answer. Okay, we just basically use as many rules as possible until you can't simplify anymore. If you end up with numbers that need to be simplified, you know you're not done yet. You need to continue. For example, here in the beginning we reduced by 5. You'll have to reduce again. But if you can find the best or the highest number, you can go into both. You can easily do that in one step, like we did. Okay, so that's what happens when you have things like this. You may also have this in addition some parentheses. This and some parentheses on top. For instance, you may have something like this, 2 a power, for example, 2. And some numbers here, let's say 5. 5 and power 4. And let's say 2 here and 8. Okay, it's getting a little more interesting here. So we have, in addition to the fraction, multiple variables, we have parentheses. And the whole thing here is raised to this power. Okay?
This is a 4 and 8.
That's right, 4 and 8. So this whole fraction is raised to the second power. So the 2 belongs to all of these. You don't want to distribute the 2 yet. You don't want to take this 2 and distribute to all these. First, you want to make this, you want to simplify this as much as possible. Maybe make it like this first, with less numbers and variables. And after that, you give what's left this second power. So inside the parentheses first. So it's very important. So here, we're going to work inside. Okay, so we're going to do the inside same way we just did these.
X4, Y minus 6.
That's right, 4. 5 minus 4 is x1. And here, 2 minus 8 will be, 2 minus 8 will be negative
Negative 6.
6. We still have the power at the top of the parentheses. What do you think happens next?
You move the y to the bottom, so it's X over Y6 parentheses 2.
Okay, that's one way. we can
You
move this down to make it positive,
You multiply the
Or
exponent.
you multiply it.
or we multiply, or we use which rule from here to split these? Which rule from 1 to 6?
3.
3 will be afterwards. We're
4.
going to use the 4 first. So we're going to split it first into 2, and then use 3. We're going to split this. We're going to write each one basically. We're going to, because the 2 belongs to both.
X2 y minus 12.
That's right. So we're going to say x1 to the power 2, and then x negative 6 to the power. Okay, so you both share this power. We split it. We split them here. We'll write each one by itself. So we distribute in the power basically to both of these. Now that we wrote that, so we have a power over a power. That's rule number 3 that we learned last time. So we need to multiply the two, a, b. So that would be 2 here. And of course, we're going to times these, so it's going to be negative 12. And the final step here is, what is the final step?
You bring the
Top
one
of the
to
line
negative sub
with
in.
the bottom.
That's right. This is a negative power. You have to move it to the other side to make it positive. If it's not a fraction, you can just put it over 1 like this. And this will be x2 over y12.
So if you do it differently, meaning like you might do one step first and the other one, like instead of you distributing
That's
the
okay.
2 to both,
That's okay, yeah.
as long as you get the same result.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
possible to do it a little differently. There's got to be at least a couple of ways to do it, but the answer should be the same. Okay, but try to find the easiest ways. Okay, so when you have parentheses and the power, again, you start inside the parentheses and then the power. Now, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if you have a negative power here. Okay, something like this, and a negative power here instead of positive. Probably add in some numbers here. So this is probably the most complex it's going to get, is this example here we're going to do. We're going to try to put everything in it, all sorts of different things. So let's say we have maybe 21 here, 14, couple of variables, and maybe a negative power here. And probably 4, negative 4. What else? This. And there's probably 7 here. And a 3. Okay, so this is, again, the most complex probably we'll see regarding these powers and examples. It's going to take a few steps. But again, each one of those steps is not difficult. We just need to do that in a specific, not a specific order, but the easiest order possible. So again, before you worry about this power, just ignore it for now and just work inside of this. Simplify this as much as possible. Basically, it's kind of like this. We're just going to repeat the same thing until we get it to something as simple as that. Once we do that, we still have our power outside the negative 5, this one. And we can easily deal with this power later. For now, ignore it. Don't worry about it. Just focus on this. So again, inside first. Okay, and then after that, we're going to deal with then the negative 5, the power. These are the main steps, okay? This is what you need to remember, not every single detail, just the guidelines here. So, and inside of this, once you look inside the parentheses, you'll notice what you need to do. So, what needs to be done inside the parentheses?
Simplify the 14 and the
Simplify the
21.
fraction.
Exactly, so we're going to reduce this by
7, so equal to 2/3.
Exactly, 7 into 14. Twice, 7 into 21.
3.
3 times. All right, so now we're going to write our expression. Keep the -5 there. And this is 2 over 3. What do we do with the x's?
You subtract them. -4 minus 2 would be x minus 6.
Or instead of subtracting, what can we do?
Oh, well, you can bring the x down to make it
Right.
positive.
Bring it down to make it positive. Usually the subtraction and the negatives can be confusing. We'll have to do -4 minus 2. It's still going to be negative. You will have to move it anyway. We can move it right now. And this turns into
X.
the x4 moves down, becomes x4, positive 4, next to the x2. And of course, the y7 and y3. We don't need to move them, we just need to subtract. They're both positive, so 7 minus 3. We're still working inside. Again, just ignore that -5 for now. Back to this, so 2/3 x4 times x2 would be?
X, oh, 6.
X6.
Right? Now it's a
6.
multiplication, okay? So no longer a subtraction, because they're next to each other, multiplication, we add the powers, and of course here would be,
Y4.
that's right. So there's nothing else we can do here. Everything is simple, fraction, the bases are different. Now, again, this power belongs to all of these. This power here belongs to all of these, but first we want to make it positive. Look at the rules here, so we want to make this positive. Which rule from this list do we use to turn that power positive?
5.
Rule number, not exactly 5.
Oh, 6.
6.
That's right, 6. So what do you do to the fraction to make the power positive?
Invert it.
Flip it.
Exactly, so we're just going to flip it. So we're going to flip the whole thing. This goes up over 2y to the 4th. And this power, instead of negative, we're going to have a positive 5. Now we can distribute it to all these inside. All the numbers and the variables will get that power. So let's write each one of them to that power. Each single thing here, so 3 to the 5th. We have y to the 6th to the 5th, I mean x. Over 2 to the 5th. Finally, this one also to the 5th. Okay, last step. 3 to the 5th. Again, if it's under 1,000, if it's in 3 digits or less, you can write it down. If not, you can leave it like that. What is 3 to the 5th? 81.
15.
Nope. It's not 15 at all.
27.
It's much, much higher than that. It's a lot higher than that. 3 to the
Oh, no.
3 times 3 times 3
yeah.
5 times. So it's 9 times 10, 81 times 5.
243.
Again?
243.
243. Okay, you expand it. You expand it first 3 times 3 times 3, and then you do 2 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 to the 5th, we did this last time. What is it? 32, right?
32.
Same way. 2
Yeah,
times.
32.
This is fine, and then again, it's 3 digits, not a problem. But if it's, for example, 11A or something, the number would be much higher. You can leave it like that. You can leave it as 3 to the 11th power, for example. Okay, and again, what do you do with these? X to the 5th to the...
Teacher, what's that number?
Uh,
First, yes,
243.
243.
Mm-hmm. That's what someone told us. I hope they are right.
I don't think so. Oh, it's
Me-
3. Sorry, I was doing the wrong number. It's, yeah. I was doing 5 exponent 3 for
this
some.
is accurate. This is 243. And what is
So
x
x
to the
is
6th to the 5th?
6 times 5 is x to the 30th.
30.
Oh, yeah, you just times the 2. Finally here,
5, 50,
All right.
20.
20. Okay, we just multiply the two powers. So as you can see, that's about it. There's nothing else you can simplify here. This is already simplified. The power, the bases are different. On all the powers are positive. So we pretty much, that's pretty much what you need to do for this one. Okay, so again, this is as complex as you can get. Remember these two main steps. You want to work inside first. Do not distribute the power yet until you get this to be simple as this. So from here, we went to this, and now it's easier to distribute the power. And that's pretty much how you simplify algebraic or exponential expressions using these rules. Okay, you guys got that? Any questions?
No, that's clear.
No,
Okay. Everybody else? You guys all right? Please let me know if you have any questions. So basically all the other problems you'll see will be just a variety of this. It will be pretty much one form or the other of this one. Someone earlier had a question about a negative power. What was
No, it was me. Like, what if, like, for example, instead of the 14 being positive, would be minus 14 at the
14 here?
top? Yeah. Like, if that number would be negative. I guess
Okay.
when I did the assignment, I transferred it down because I
No.
distributed the -5.
Right. It's not a power. Okay. If it's a negative, it would stay there. You don't move it down. Only move something with a negative power.
No, what I meant is like I didn't do the flip version of step 7. I first distributed the negative exponent, and so it would be
That can be
2 minus 2 to the power of -5. So
Okay.
then I took the -2 completely down,
right.
but
So
I got the right
better,
number. I
right.
think.
It's better to work inside the parentheses. So
Yeah.
if you give it the -5 right now, you'll have to write at this stage. You'll have to give it to a lot of numbers and variables, and there are large numbers here. Imagine raising 14 or to the power of 5. It's going to be a lot of work. But if you simplify it first, then give the power later, it will be much easier. Everybody else, any questions, any concerns? Okay, let's do maybe one more like this. So another example like that.
But I have a question. So for example, if I did it like instead of applying number 7, I applied something different, but I got to the right result. Is that okay with you?
You will have to repeat if you don't do it. For example, here, 7 is only on the best one. If you don't do 7, it will be wrong. But for this one here, we could have used 5 or 15.
Yeah, but for example, in the last example that you got, I didn't use step number 7, but I still got to the right result, and I simplified it in a different way by looking at different steps.
Yeah. Sometimes you could. I know I write every detail here, but again, with experience, you will have to. You can probably skip some steps. We could skip at least 2 from here.
No, but what I mean is like I didn't use step 7. I used another different rule to simplify it, but I still got to the result that was the simplified result.
Yeah, that would be okay.
Okay.
So let's do another problem here. And let's use something like this. And probably.
This is an 18.
Yes, let me try to fix it. Should be an 18. Okay, here's another one. And let's add in another power here. Okay, so what happens? what happens now?
Simplify negative 18 and 27, which will equal to negative 2 over 3.
All right, so 18 and 27, the highest number goes into both is
9.
9. So instead of using 3, if you use 3, you'll have to simplify again. So try to find the best number. So 9 into 18 twice, 9 into 27 3 times. And then we're going to move this up to make it positive and simplify these. X to the third. What is the power of x here?
1.
1. That's right. So this will go up here. And we have a power 1 here, which we're going to subtract. Again, don't worry about this one. We're going to do it at the end. And only flip here. The reason we flipped this because this was negative. If this one was positive, you don't flip it. Just go directly to this step. Okay, so don't always flip it unless it's negative. All right, so now, again, just keep that power there. So we have 2/3 negative. So this negative stays here. Again, this is not a power. Do not move it down or flip it. Just a number. So keep that negative here. Only move the powers. When the power is negative, you move the expression to the other side. So this will be 2/3 x3 over x1, which will be 3 minus
minus 1.
That's right. And of course, here y4 and y1. This turns into negative 2/3 x2. And of course, y4 times y1 will be y5. Okay, as you can see, we're done inside. Now, let's flip this and then distribute the power. Or you may also distribute the power first if you want and then multiply. The last two steps here, you can either, we didn't have to flip here. You can either give the negative now after simplifying, or you can flip it first. Either way, you will get to this point. So let's make it positive. I'm going to flip the entire thing. This goes down. And the power turns positive. Now we can distribute the 7. Okay, we distribute the 7 to everything. So 3 to the 7th power. Then negative 2 to the 7th. So x2 to the power 2. Finally, y5 to the power 7. 3 to 7, is that over 1,000? Close? 900 something?
It's 2,187.
That's too much. So we can just leave it like that. It's nicer like this. Negative 2 to the 7th. Negative 2 times negative 2.
Negative 128.
All right, negative 128. And of course, this will be,
X to the 14.
that's right, and
Y to the 35.
exactly. And that's about it. As you can see, this is good, nothing to simplify. The negative here again is a part with a number. It's not a power, so you don't need to move it or anything. So that's your final answer here. Make sure your powers are all positive, like so. And again, we applied all the rules needed. So none of these, if you want to try to apply any of these now, it's not going to work because we simplified as much as possible. You can see here, we combined pretty much maybe all these probably. I think we combined. We definitely used this. We used this one, that, and this. Yeah, so we pretty much used all these rules from 1 to 6, all combined. It may take you a few steps like you see here, but again, they're not difficult steps. Just remember 2 main steps. Work inside the parentheses and then
It's at the bottom of the page. Bring that up for me to understand that.
like this.
What is this? 3 to the 7th power?
Yep, 3 to the 7th power. So again, start inside the parentheses first, everybody. And later, distribute the power. And inside the parentheses, it is obvious what needs to be done, okay? So do not remember these little steps here, but remember to work inside. Inside, of course, you see that you need to simplify this. If you have a negative power, move it to the other side. Subtract. If you have a fraction, same, basically base over a base, subtract the powers. Okay, everybody? Is everyone on board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any questions, everyone? Please let me know.
No, it's clear.
This is the time to learn it.
Mm.
Okay, again, we're just applying these rules basically. We're not doing too much. And again, this is as complex as you can get in the exams and quizzes. This is the longest one you'll see.